It's important. Greetings, family. This is Baba Ahnk, and this is Baba Kwabena with a Kemites view on the weekly news program, a rehash of what's going on in the world. And today we thought it was very important to do a show on 9/11, the day that will live in infamy, because this is the day that America changed. It's not the same anymore from when I grew up. Go ahead, Baba Kwabena. What you got to say? Greet the people, brother.
Greetings to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and we didn't get to have this session last week, so these sessions are always good and therapeutic and cathartic and informative and all of that good stuff. So,
and hopefully you guys can learn something from it. So I know I feel better after, but I hope you guys will learn something. And I like for you to question me too. So, this is an Afrikan or Kemites view of what's going on versus what they're telling us from the news. So I'm going to start, instead of Africa, I'm going to start in 9/11 and go on the U.S. side, because we usually bifurcate and do Africa first, and then we do U.S. or other parts of the world. But it's important to do 9/11. So we're going to start with 9/11. So it's been 22 years, 21 years?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
21 years. Do you remember what you was doing when it happened?
Very well. I was right here in DC. I was for some reason I was late to work that day, and but as I don't really, at least back then, I wasn't listening to the radio. I always listened to whatever genre of music that had my fancy at the time. So I didn't know anything had happened until I got to the office. And then when I walked in the office, my supervisor said, "Did you hear what happened with planes running and a plane crashing into this was the first plane crashing into the towers in New York?" And I said, "No." They said, they don't know if it, at that point, they didn't have enough information to know it was a terrorist attack. And so she said they were trying to figure it out. And I said, "Oh, wow." And so the whole office was at a standstill. And everybody had TVs on everywhere because they were looking to see what happened. And we did, of course, nobody got any work done that day. And then when the second plane hit, I mean, right away, it was like, okay, this is a terrorist attack. This is no coincidence. And then the third plane hit. And by the time the third plane hit, I think they had already let us go because they sent everybody home. And I think I was on my way home when the third plane hit. Now the third plane, and then there was a fourth plane that hit the side of the Pentagon where my wife worked at the Pentagon. And it took her forever to get home because traffic was so bad in the city. And it's also my daughter's birthday. My oldest daughter's birthday is 9/11.
Wow.
And so it's a day she'll never forget, right? Not that she'd forget it anyway, because it's a birthday. Right. But yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. You've got the official story. They're saying terrorist attack and all that stuff, but it's somebody, and I agree it was terrorist attack. The question is who? Who are the terrorists? Because
right.
I find it hard to believe that these guys with box cutters from out of a cave in Afghanistan could tell the NORAD, North American Defense, to do these drills out in Alaska and Colorado, and be off coast conveniently to have a terrorist attack at the same time. They were running a drill for this, and they had a majority of the other troops or the airplanes off other places. So, make a long story short, something is rotten in Denmark. It ain't as clear cut as what they say. And as we all know,
of course,
how do we know that they're lying? Their mouth is moving. So,
right. Right.
That official story is bunk because supposedly Osama bin Laden in the newspaper in Dubai died of kidney failure in December of 2001.
Mm.
Even though Obama, our favorite president, supposedly killed him just before his reelection, right? To look tough, kill somebody. Yeah, I'm good at killing people. That's what he said, psychopath.
Right,
Anyway, it's another story. So yeah, that's my view on 911. I think it definitely, this guy Chertoff too. He made a grip. He's the one that came out with the rape scan machines. You know, once you got to put your hands up and put your gonads on the internet. Now you go ahead, turn around. Oh yeah, you look real nice. We're gonna take pictures of you again when those pretty buxom ladies come in. Raise your hands again, turn around. We're gonna take some more. Looks up like we found something.
Right. And it requires a pat down.
Right.
What we found, right?
Right. The bad part is that it's only women can do it. Or I always, when I go to the airport, I always refuse to go to the rape scan machines. And people look at me as sometimes they look at me weird, like, wow, you're opting out? Because most people are just like sheep. They just walk through, they don't even question or whatever, opt out. So I've had a couple of times where the TSA guards are like, they seem mad or angry that I have opted out and not been the sheep and just walked on through the line. And so they make me wait a long time for them to come. Then they come and they do the pat down,
Okay.
And then when they get down there around my gonads, I have them do it again,
just for ha-has.
You sure you checked it well? You need to check it again. Under the sack there. Hold the sack. I'm sorry, I'm being bad. The whole thing's ridiculous because Chertoff came off with these machines, man. He's made billions. Everyone's got them, and I hear they said people can get through. They've done so many audits, and the TSA is a joke. And if someone wanted to shoot down a plane, why would you even go there and do that? All you gotta do is get a Stinger missile launcher set outside the airport, right outside the fence line, then hit a plane, hit it with a missile while it was coming in or leaving. That's all you have to do if they wanted to do it. So it's just ridiculous, man, in my opinion. But that's just what I think about it. Anything else, brother?
Nah.
All right, we'll let sleeping dogs lie. And speaking of sleeping dogs, we're gonna move on to the dead queen. Oh, did I make a pun?
Was that ding dong, the witch is dead, the witch is dead, the witch is dead. Ding dong, the witch is dead.
96 years old, man.
Yeah.
She's holding on for a long time. They said she done drunk so. How many young children did she go through to get that adrenochrome to live that long? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know about the adrenochrome stuff, adrenochrome or whatever they call it. I don't know if she did it.
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Well, adrenochrome is supposedly some substance that's created in the body when just before you die, you have a lot of fear, so your adrenaline pumps you up, and then they sacrifice you and take your, I think, adrenaline gland or some blood out of you or something. And by taking that, it gives you a lot of, it's like an aphrodisiac and it rejuvenates you. So it's like vampire type stuff. It makes you turn young. And supposedly these people take adrenochrome and drink it. They sacrifice children. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but I could see them doing it. These people, I won't put nothing past them, but I heard a story. I was listening to a story about how Queen Elizabeth and her husband, I forget his name.
Charles. Oh, no. No, Charles was a son.
I think Albert or something. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I think it was Albert.
But anyway, they went to Canada like in the early 70s. And they went to a Native American school. And the Native American, one of the guys there says, we knew something funny was something different was happening because this is the only time that they really cleaned us up and gave us fresh clothes. And new clothes. So they went on a picnic, and the Queen and her husband picked out 10 children and they went off with them. The 10 brightest, smartest children. But those children were never heard from again.
Mm.
So, you know, I don't know. I imagine this chick, man, this queen, she's right now, if there's a hell, she's on one of them chicken spits like at Walmart and spinning down in the hill. I see her now. That's what I have a vision of her on a spit turning over the fire, if there is a hell.
Right, right. Well, it's interesting, all of the memes and the jokes that have gone on social media as a result of this, and how I don't know if you saw the professor, the Nigerian professor at Carnegie Mellon, and what she said.
What did she say?
And then Jeff Bezos chimed in on what she said and called for her to be fired. But she said, yeah, she said she just before the Queen died, she posted on Twitter that it had to deal with the Queen's suffering in her death, that it would be excruciating painful because of all the atrocities that have been committed during her reign, how she's, you know, murdered and done genocide and rolled and stolen, and they've raped and pillaged, and so Jeff Bezos chimed in on it. He saw it and he said, he told her, "How can you say such horrible things when this woman has died?" But then social media clapped back at him, talking about again, portraying all of the atrocities, and then told him, "Well, you can't talk. You got people working 12 hours in your factory like slaves." And so then he shut up.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, they're going to
But there have
drag
been,
him.
yeah, lots of different memes. There was one meme where the Queen she was at heaven's door, and Princess Diana was on the other side of the door, and she saw her coming, and she slammed the door in her face.
I need to see some more memes like that, because to me, all she is a big ass welfare recipient. That whole royal family ain't nothing but big welfare queens. Literally, she is a welfare queen, because they get so much money out the you know, from the state. They'll do their little stuff. And what's interesting to me is that the city of London, which is I think a 1 mile square piece of property right downtown on the river, is independent from the English Empire or the English government. It's its own entity. Yes, bankers. The bankers run it. And when she comes in, she's got to basically bow down to the mayor of the city, and she can't come whenever she wants to. So that just shows you that the bankers are running the world, and they run London. And they do that from the city. It's a trip. Like, wow, really? They're actually telling you that the bankers are running the show and not the Queen. She's just a figurehead. And I don't know. She looks okay, but Queen, the guy, her family was actually German. Saxe Goldberg, Coburg Gotha, I think it was. Her family, I think the Queen Elizabeth I, it was Elizabeth back in the 1800s. She married a German guy, and their last name was Saxe Coburg Gotha. And they changed it to Windsor because they didn't want to have the affiliation with the Germans. So they were really tight with Hitler, even though I don't think Hitler was a bad guy personally, but they've changed their names and they did a lot of nefarious things. And I think it was Prince Albert. I don't keep up with the names like I should, I guess. But the one started World War I. He was like the one running Winston Churchill. He was the one basically that got all the wars going. It was a despicable character, man. These people, because you know they want to make money, and then they're also following this Venetian oligarchy model that they've transported to London. So it's really interesting when you really dig into it. And I guess we're gonna have to do a presentation about that at some point to really talk about these bastards, because that's really what they are.
Yeah. I heard something today about how that there are other monarchies and they're all connected. There's an Italian monarchy, there's the German monarchy, there's the French monarchy, and I mean, I guess I should have known, but I didn't for whatever reason, and how they're all connected, they're interrelated, they're all related because of all the intermarrying that has happened down through generations, and so anyway,
what's interesting to me about the monarchy is that the monarchy was basically marginalized or set to the side by the bankers. That's who started and financed all, like the French Revolution was the first move to get the monarchy out of the way, because the monarchy is really the only check that on the power of the bankers. So, if you get rid of the king and you get a democracy, hey, you all in, because now you got these puppets going in and out every 2, 4, 6 years or whatever, 8 years. You can sit back and, puppet master real easy, like what they're doing now. We get all excited about Trump or Biden.
Right.
And they're nothing but puppets. And it works, man. It works.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you got nothing else, we're going to move on a little bit. I got something interesting here I want to talk about.
One more meme that I want to share. It was
go ahead.
Prince Charles. So there was Prince Charles was laying down on the bed asleep, and then he's now king, right?
Right.
And so I don't know if you did this when you were a child, but when we were children, when school was getting ready to start, we always got new school clothes, and then sometimes we liked
that's the only time we got new clothes.
Lay them out. Yeah, we would lay them out. We'd put the shirt with the pants and the shoes and just lay it all out, right? So there was this picture was Prince Charles laying in a bed, and his clothes were laid out next to him, the shoes, the pants, for him taking his new position as king.
Oh, the king clothes. He got the king clothes on now, huh?
They were laid out on the bed next to him.
That's funny. He's the oldest monarch to take position. They said he's the oldest person to ever assume a position. And that it's interesting that the queen held on to the position so long, because she puts me in mind of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The lady on the Supreme Court that was the abortion, whatever, champion, whatever. And people are mad at her because they're saying that Ruth Bader Ginsburg should have resigned earlier so they could put somebody on that would allow for Roe v. Wade to continue, who would have voted, to put it down, whatever. But because she stayed on there so long and died, I think it was Trump got a chance to appoint somebody else on there. And then because of that, they voted to send it back to the states and not have it as a federal mandate to be able to kill babies, because someone was free fucking, so to speak, and got caught, and they sacrificed the baby, killed a weakling. At least that's how I see it. People see it differently. Kill the baby. It's easy. Baby ain't gonna talk.
Right.
So, but the reason why I said all that, and then the queen, she stayed on there till 97. She could have resigned, years ago and given it to him when he was younger. You would think she would do that unless she knows something we don't know, and she knows that he's an incompetent oaf, and she didn't want him to have control.
Right.
So I don't know. It seems odd. You would think a 97-year-old woman would have said, "Hey, son, take it over." 20 years ago.
Right. At least 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago. I'm gonna go chill, and you run it now. And we have a nice transition, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on here. I saw something, just getting into some science stuff here. And this is out of England, of all places, Cambridge, that they supposedly came up with a synthetic embryo, and it formed a brain and a beating heart, they said. And they used mouse stem cells, and they're hoping to be able to move this on to humans, to basically make a human being, clone a human being with just stem cells. A lot of this stuff, man, they put out like this. I'm skeptical. I'm wondering if I think they're lying. I think they want us to think that they're so advanced with stuff, and they're not. I don't think they could do that personally. I've seen it, but given their track record, given what they've done historically, this sounds like a lie to me to make us think that, oh, bow down to these wonderful people because they figured out all this stuff. And I saw, what was it, a comment the other day, and it was talking about how basically they're pushing this transhumanist stuff and they're going to do this next and that's our future. And to me, it was just such a defeatist attitude. Why is it our future? It don't have to be our future. Not if we resist, not if we stand up, not if we grow some gonads, ovaries or some balls, and say, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not taking the damn shot. I don't care what you say, I'm not doing it.
But
instead of just acquiescing.
Yeah, well, what you said it earlier when you were talking about the scanner at the airport, TSA, that you resist going through the scanner, but everybody else goes through. They go through. They don't question it. Everybody else goes through, right? Because they follow directions. They don't resist, right? Certainly, if enough people rose up, a change could happen. We could get things to go in a different direction, but the people are so they've been conditioned the way they are, and they're just sheep that follow wherever they're told to go.
Yeah, I don't think you need that many people. For according to what they said about the American Revolution, I think there's some truth to it. Only 10 to 15% of the people rebelled. So 85% of the people was kind of like passive. So all we need is 10 to 15% of the people just to get some damn gonads to stand up and say no. Right. And I think it's coming. It's coming. Yeah. And it's just a matter of time when it hits. Yeah. And all we need is 10 to 15%.
Yeah, you can look back at even in recent years, like what happened with all the truckers in Canada. I mean, that took Canada by surprise, right?
Right.
But people rose up. They made a stand. Took a stance, and you've seen it in other places too. So yes, I mean, people are being awakened, and they're starting to say, "Hell no, we're not doing it." And I think it all too has to do with how the universe is moving on people. Not to say that everybody who's done it is necessarily woke to the same degree, but I think there's shifts that are occurring in the universe that are causing people to arouse themselves and to rise up and to look at life differently.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's people that are waking up because of the shift. I mean, it's in the universe too. I mean, they talk about Cepheus as the Ethiopian king ruling in the heavens now. And you talk about Aquarian Age coming in. You talk about moving out of the Kali Yuga age into another age. Treta Yuga, I believe it's called. But anyway, no, we're definitely moving into different time and people waking up. I just want to give one anecdote to that too, because speaking of airports, I remember at the airport one time. I can't remember where I was. I think it was in Colombia or something. Maybe it was here in the U.S. Excuse me. But I came up to a line, and there were 6 rows for people to go through, and 3 of the lines had people stacked 4 or 5 deep. Then there were the other 3 lines that were totally empty. So I came up and I looked and saw the people in the lines with the 3, and then I saw the other lines empty. I just walked to the empty line. The guy, said, "Come on," and I walked right on through. And I was just thinking, that's an example of what we just talked about, sheeple. These people saw other folks in line instead of questioning if they could get in the other lines, because they were hoping. They just got behind someone in front of them, and so they were in line waiting, and they didn't even have to. It was insane. Like, wow, I wish I could have videoed that. Yeah. Anyway, interesting story. All right, moving on. There's supposedly this economic meltdown that's coming, and when study capitalism and understand capitalism, finance capitalism in particular, we know that it's a Ponzi scheme and that it's a house of cards that's about ready to explode right now or drop down. And they're saying, look at the debt market.
Mm-hmm.
The debt market, listen to a guy today, Gregory Manarino, has got a lot of good information about financial stuff. And he was saying when the debt market goes crazy, that's when they're gonna pull the plug and let it collapse and try to move into cryptocurrencies, the next scam.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see cryptos as a scam, but that's what it looks like. Economic collapse with the food. They're like cutting out people from like all these farmers, man, losing their shirts with the food, man, with the geoengineering and all this other stuff. But anyway, what you got to say, man? I'm kind of rambling on a little bit.
So with um, the debt situation, and yes, I know that they're trying to move us to a cashless society. And if Bitcoin is it, if that's the only option, it's going to be interesting to see how that all works. Granted, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes because they haven't rolled anything out yet. But I don't know. I was thinking about this money that I'm getting ready to be paid out for what's happening with my land in Ghana. I asked for it in Bitcoin. I don't really want it to hit a bank because of the amount of it, but I don't know that crypto is safe either, you know? So
We need to talk offline about this.
yeah.
But yeah, I think you need to look at different options, and also you need to look at citizenship from, one of these places, Ghana or something, get a citizenship from one of these places.
Speaking of which, I'll have that next. I'll have that after I'm in stew. It's automatic. They give it to me.
Well, that's what
So
you want to
I
do.
don't
You
have.
want to open an account with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you may want to look at different countries to put your money. I'm not sure where. I don't know where. We could talk about it offline, but
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think that's something that you want to definitely consider, not letting it hit these banks here because they're crazy. In fact, when I was in Mali, I was opening an account with a colleague of mine, and the banks, because I was American, they did not want to let me have access to her account. I mean, I was just going to be there. She did that just on the strength to show that she was trustworthy. Whatnot. I'm never going to the bank account or anything like that, but they had trepidation with respect to adding me to the account because I think there's some law that says if you have an American citizen in your bank, then the IRS or U.S. government can come in and go through all your dirty drawers and check everything in your bank, and they don't want to be subject to those kind of rules. So they eschew Americans, but if you're Ghanaian,
Well,
then you
Ghana.
don't have the same requirements.
I have a bank account in Ghana already. I mean, because they're already giving us bank accounts. I wasn't even on the continent to get it. I did it right from my living room. Because with the year of return, they set up a process where you could do what's called a homebound account. But the thing is, that account is still in my name. Now, once I'm in stool, they'll give me a new name. And I'll have a Ghanaian passport.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's what you need to be looking at. But anyway, I would say look at that round, and we can talk about it a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll
But
we'll talk. We'll talk offline.
yeah, all right. Moving on from the economic, I saw where the Biden administration is actually censoring dissent directly and not using Twitter as the go-between. They deactivated the West Texas Customs and Border Protection Twitter account for criticizing Biden's open border policy. Ain't that wild? Freedom of speech, American, what is it?
Right.
The First Amendment, freedom of
Right.
speech.
Right. Same with this African woman, this Nigerian woman who made the statement about the Queen. And there, I think she works. She's a professor at Carnegie Mellon, and so I think that they were going to do some disciplinary action, but
Let's
some
hope she's a full
organization,
profession. Let's hope she's a full professor. Then they can't
yeah.
really mess with her.
Hmm.
Because once you get tenure, then they pretty much gotta leave you alone unless they want to ready to break you off.
Yeah, I don't know that she's got tenure. I don't know, but anyway, but another organization that's for freedom of speech spoke up on her behalf too, and um, so it's just interesting how it's happened and how it's unfolding. But
Yeah. Switching gears here, we're going over to China. I saw where China. Oh no, they're talking about the answer to a lot of our energy problems is to buy electric vehicles. But I don't know if you were paying attention or not. They were talking about how California was in the lead for energy policy and dealing with climate and all this other crap. But the other day they said you had to stop charging your electric vehicle because they were running out of power. So you couldn't charge your electric vehicle. And then they want to say to get rid of your gas guzzling car. I mean, it's just all crazy. And these people, clearly they're not scientific background people. They just go by emotion.
right,
Because if you actually did a scientific analysis of EVs versus internal combustion engines, you'd find that the internal combustion engine, the auto cycle primarily, is way more efficient than electric vehicle. And then, the environmental effects. There's a video called Planet of the Humans that shows how all this environmental stuff is just a smokescreen, and they
right.
destroy the environment more than what you do in pumping oil. It's crazy. It's all
And then
lies, man. Huh?
it is all lies. Think about it. So the U.S. and other Western countries are going to Africa asking for oil because of what's going on with Russia. Now, they've already slammed Africa because they want Africa. They kept saying that green is the way to go, to stop the fossil fuel stuff. But then yet now they're showing up asking for the oil. And of course, Africa's making them pay too, which they should.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about that too, going into oil. There's so much oil in Africa too that they're not developing. Is crazy, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, switching gears here to China. I saw where China they've got pollution so bad. Basically, what happened in China is in the 80s, they made a deal, Kissinger and those guys and the banks on Wall Street to move all the industry over to China. So all the heavy duty industry that was here in the US, where I'm from, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Michigan, they shipped all that heavy duty manufacturing over to China where they didn't have any environmental rules. So they just polluted the shit out of the place. So that place where the COVID started, what's it called? Wuhan or whatever. Wuhan. They
Wuhan,
said
yeah.
the Wuhan, they said really, well, the pollution there was so bad that they had to the people were protesting, man. They were protesting because the pollution was so bad, and that's why people got sick from respiratory problems. But what their solution is now in China, which is really wild, is they're basically running these trucks around that are shooting mist up in the air, and supposedly to capture the particulates and then let it fall back to the ground, which is ridiculous. Why don't you just go to the plants that are emitting this stuff and put scrubbers on them to stop all this pollution? But their solution is to get these basically big water trucks to drive around the city and spray mist in the city. I tell you, you can't make this stuff up, man. It's stupid. It's stupid.
Right.
Stupid is and stupid does. But they think because of technology, people who don't understand technology think it's a great idea. But it's
Right.
actually stupid and ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna move to Africa now. We got a few more minutes. We're moving this thing. We're gonna stop at 7:20, I think. So we got 25 minutes. Okay, Zimbabwe is bitter because the Queen did not back a pay for land reform. So in other words, there was a deal made back, I think it was in the 90s when Mugabe took over, that
Okay.
Lancaster House Agreement, where all the land that the European, British, and other folks had in Zimbabwe, they had stolen from the Africans. They were supposed to give it back, but the British were supposed to pay the landowners. Well, Tony Blair and someone else didn't support it, so it fell apart. So Mugabe moved and it took the land anyway. But the Queen didn't support it. And what gets me is that why are they thinking that the Queen would support this? It was her plan, or at least she was acquiescent in the stealing of the land in the first place.
Right,
That's
in the first place, right.
I mean, it was the Queen and all them that arranged for y'all to be colonized and to steal your land. So why you think the Queen all of a sudden gonna change her spots and help you?
Right.
Is that stupid or what? I mean, that's what we are, black people, Africans. We're naive, man. We don't want to see the reality of what's in front of us.
Right. And then on top of that, then all these sanctions were applied to them from the West, right? So that which caused their financial demise. But they're what are they doing? They're doing something right now that's really huge.
It's huge.
I want to say it's crypto related in Zimbabwe.
No, well, I don't know if it's crypto related or not. I know in one country they're doing crypto, but I saw in Zimbabwe they're looking to use gold coins as their currency. Can we say
Really?
Gaddafi? Yes. That's huge, bruh. Yes. Wow. That's huge.
And
I'm looking for them to get invaded. You know, look what happened to Gaddafi.
Right.
But I don't know if they get up close and personal with Russia and China, which they should, they may be okay. But that could collapse the whole Western system as far as finance. Why would you want to have this fiat foolish currency when you can have real species currency?
Right.
But that's what they're looking at doing. So yeah, it's good you brought that up. We talked about that.
I'm gonna have to go look into that more detail.
But controversial or par contra to that is a Central African Republic. Those got to be some of the dumbest Negroes walking on the planet, man. I shouldn't say that about my brothers over there. Not all of them, because I'm sure there's some very intelligent people from Central African Republic. It's just that the leadership, they are just sold out, it appears. I mean, they're talking about making their whole economy on cryptocurrencies without really understanding cryptocurrencies, setting yourself up to basically be robbed. You got my little, you got the baby in the background. She don't like me talking. She won't talk to me. But yeah, Central African Republic is going straight crypto, man. Set themselves up to just be raped, just be gangbanged. Like, why? Why are y'all doing this? They don't understand it. But we talked about this before on another show. So the cryptos, but we'll come back to it and visit it. But yeah, but Zimbabwe's looking to go with gold currency, man. They'll stop all the inflation, all the game plan. That's a big one. That's bringing out the big guns, man. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on here. This guy Macky Sall, who is I think he's over the AU, African Union. He's the president of Senegal.
Yes, Senegal.
But he was talking about the title. I picked the article because it's talking about this climate crap. It says, "Will Europe walk the talk on Africa's climate crisis?" This guy Sall says Africa pays for emissions produced elsewhere. That 2% of CO2 emissions are only come from Africa, but Africa suffers from drought, flood, and food issues. And they're going to have this. They're having this meeting in Amsterdam where all these leaders are going there to, hoot it up, with all the requisite good food and prostitutes there to ply them and, in Holland. But what gets me, I know he's dishonest. First of all, he's a politician, so we know that he's dishonest. But anybody who talks about climate and does not mention geoengineering is dishonest, and they're lying. You cannot talk about the climate if you're not talking about geoengineering. That's like saying you want to talk about cars, but you don't want to talk about gasoline. How you going to talk about cars without talking about gasoline? It's ridiculous, but that's where we are. That's why we're in the shape we are with these sellout clowns here. Okay. Anything else?
Nah.
I'm going to move on to the next one. Nigeria oil exports at its lowest point due to oil theft. So supposedly, the oil in Nigeria is being stolen by the people. They're going to these pipelines and they're punching holes in them and drawing the oil out and selling it. And they're talking about, oh, our oil production is down. Well, what about Shell? You selling it to Shell, and they stealing all the oil, and then the leaders are stealing all the oil, getting they cut back. People just try to, they try to democratize the oil now. So, they complaining about people stealing from thieves. I call that justice. When you take from a thief, that's called justice.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's how I see that. It's interesting. I thought that was interesting. Okay, moving on here. We're talking about Ethiopia. We're gonna move over there, and we got this Tigray rebels, and they're ready for AU-led peace talks. So that's all part of that colonial. Keep them fighting, keep the Negroes fighting, so we can rape them and rule them.
Of course.
Hopefully, they can get this resolved, man, and they can stop that war, because a lot of people are suffering over there in the Ethiopian area and Tigray.
Right. They've been having protests here about that war.
Really?
Matter of fact, yeah,
in what regard? What are they saying?
They were marching around the White House and through the streets of DC and wanting the U.S. they're wanting the U.S. to get involved. These are the Tigray people wanting the U.S. to get involved, and but little do they know, the U.S. is already involved. They've stirred this mess up.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows you where people are. Either they, I don't know, they must be either naive or they just, I don't know, just dumb, or uninformed. I should say ignorant. I shouldn't say dumb. Ignorant.
Yeah.
They're either naive or ignorant. And a lot of people are just naive. Just like in Zimbabwe, the guys expecting the queen to do something. That's just naive, man.
Yeah. It's like Maya Angelou said, when they show you who they are, believe them.
Yeah,
I mean, that's so simple, right? Simple. Believe them. They've shown who they are. Believe them.
I agree, 100%. And it's just like, to me, it's like, as long as you follow somebody, you're gonna be behind them.
Yeah.
So this goes for all these Christians, these other folks who following all these other things and not following themselves as Africans. You're gonna be behind these people. They're gonna always be ahead of you because you've chosen to be behind them. You're following them. You're a fool.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm getting kind of mean here. Let me stop that. Okay. Going on to Angola. They had a big election down there, right? And UNITA and MPLA, and UNITA stands for National Union for Total Independence of Angola, and MPLA stands for the People's Movement for Liberation of Angola, just for your anecdotal information. But supposedly UNITA or MPLA got 51% of the vote. And of course, all the people who were counting it and the court are MPLA appointed people. But the UNITA is saying that they actually, according to independent poll watchers, UNITA got 49.5%, and that the MPLA got 44%. So there's some irregularities going on there. And MPLA has been in there since their independence, which was, what's that, in the 90s? They got independent. Was it the 90s or the early 2000s? Something like that, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
but I know that, somewhere around there. But that lady, Dos Santos, I think the richest lady in the world, was one of the children of the guy that was running. No, and he wanted. Let me talk about him. He wanted to go to Europe to die or some stupid shit like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So they're corrupt as hell, in Angola. So who knows? I hope they get it together, and they look like they set themselves up for another war. Let's hope they don't do that. But with that corruption and vote counting, man, that kind of rhymes with what's going on over here, according to some folks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And Kenya had an election too.
Okay, I didn't catch that. What? Okay, how did that turn out? I know there was yeah, I did. We did cover that earlier, but did they resolve it? Who actually won? I don't know who won.
The I don't remember his name, but he's the evangelical guy.
Oh Lord, so he got saved. Wow.
Of course you're right. Oh Lord is right.
Oh Lord.
And not the Lord Jesus.
Lord, give you a piece of chicken. Right.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
you should hear
Uh,
Dr. Mumbi talk about it.
well, really, I need to listen to her again. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
crazy
yeah,
over there.
yeah.
Okay, moving on to Ivory Coast. And Ivory Coast is always I look at them as just a trader country, man. They kind of remind me of New Jersey or Delaware in the US. They call those the trader states because those are the ones who first allow corporations to have what is it? Infinite life. So
Mhm.
before corporations were only allowed to exist for a particular task and for a particular time. But New Jersey allowed them to basically live forever and become these juridical persons, juridical psychopathic persons that could basically run the world. And that's what we got now, these corporations running the world. And I
Mhm.
kind of see Ivory Coast in the same way as being the back door to let the French in who run things because they're talking about Ivory Coast is pissed at Bamako because they had those soldiers coming in there. We talked about this before, and Ivory Coast sent in like 49 soldiers, but they didn't have any paperwork and they were not supposed to be there for that particular task. They were doing some type of ECOWAS type, not ECOWAS, but basically patrolling and protecting against the jihadis that the
Mm.
courts the CIA had put in there and
Okay.
MI6 and all that. So Molly said, no, you can't come in. So they hold them hostage. And there were three women, so they let the women go. But these 46 guys, they're holding them there still in Mali. And Ivory Coast is kicking up a fuss, saying, let our people go. You hold them there as political prisoners. They're hostages, whatnot. And I'm just like, are you doing this as a casus belli? Let's hope not.
Mm.
So I'm going to keep my eye on that. And
Okay.
in other news about Ivory Coast, which is interesting, is supposedly they're developing some super phone aimed at illiterate people. I'm trying to figure out how that gonna work.
Say it again. Super phone and what?
They developed a super phone, cell phone
Okay.
to be aimed at or used by illiterate
Literate.
people, which
Okay.
seems crazy. Just teach them how to read. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. Right.
What they gonna have? Cube, what, triangles and squares, and you gotta have
Mm.
to have some type of literacy. Even you gotta learn this program.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what they're saying, and I don't trust that kind of stuff. All right, and I think this is coming up to the end, and I know this is a topic we went back and forth on, but Uganda bans immoral music festival linked to sex, drugs, and LGBT. Uh, and they're saying that homophobia is widespread in this particular area, at this festival. And in 2013, they passed a law to punish the promotion of homosexuality in Uganda. So anyway, that's what's going on down there. So I just
Mm.
want to throw that out there. And then the final thing I'm gonna wind up on is they're coming up with this movie about the warrior queen. So they
Yes.
call it the Woman King, which to me just strikes me as this transphobic or transsexual type stuff. Why you got to be a woman king? Now we know Hatshepsut was the Shechem, and she was the ruler. But you putting woman king, and it's supposed to open at the Toronto Film Festival here last past week. And in Benin they have the tradition of the warrior women, and that's where the Amazon originally or supposedly started, or was the origin of that story. The Amazon, the warrior or warrior women in
Hmm.
Benin. So
Okay.
I'm just skeptical because this lady who's directing it, who looks to be a mulatto. Well, she's a mulatto. Yeah, clearly, she's a mulatto. Her mother was white, so-called white,
Okay.
and her father was black, probably drug addict. And so she was given away on adoption. Luckily, her mother didn't abort her, but she was given up in adoption to this guy. This guy King. His last name was King. Oh, Bob Prince and Maria Prince. He was like a software designer and Caucasian. And then her mother, adopted mother, was German and Guatemalan, so she was basically Caucasian too.
Mm-hmm.
And so this little girl was raised, she's a mulatto. So you know where mine is, but of course, she says she's black, and we're supposed to be happy that this mulatto is making this movie coming out of Hollywood about black folks in our history. And even though it's not based on anything, basically it's a made-up story. They're just taking the idea of warrior women, Amazons, like Wonder Woman, and they just put black faces. Basically, it's a feminist version of Wakanda. That's what you got. And so I'm skeptical of this thing.
Aren't there some notable black Hollywood celebrities who are in this film? It seems like I've heard somebody talk about this.
I got this lady named Viola Davis who's in there, who's a supposedly well-known Hollywood star, but all them actors and actresses, man, they nothing but puppets. And they've been over and take it, whatever, to be up there. They done been on the casting couch, and they're not to be trusted. They're nothing but enemies to the people. So I'm just skeptical of this movie, and I'm getting my digs in early before people go all kind of crazy and shit on it. So that's it for me, man. We're at the end too, because I think we did that timing was good. Yeah, we're gonna get out of here. We're on the hour. And so I was just thinking, you balance me because I am the more what is it? Negative, maybe you should, or just
pessimistic.
You're optimistic. That's it. So that's good. That's a good balance. Well, brother, thank you for this talk. Thought it was interesting again. Love it. And I hope you people out there in the World Wide Web watching this enjoy this talk. And like I said, give us some comments and let me know how we can improve this program. We love you. We thank you. And on this auspicious day, 9/11, we give you love and gratitude. Anything, brother, you want to give to this wonderful audience?
Ding dong, the witch is dead. The witch is dead. The witch is dead. Ding.
Oh yeah, I love it.
That's horrible. That I often think about. So I'm still in the process of evolving, right?
Of course,
and we all are, right?
Right.
So it's like, we have to keep things in the proper perspective. Because unless you're woke and you're learning the stuff, you don't know what the proper perspective is. But that being said, even though the queen was what she was and she did what she did, everybody chooses to come here and do what they do. And so we have to keep that in mind. And so we can't necessarily, we still got to love them, as difficult as it is in some situations, because that's what we're all about, right? So, but again, I struggle with that.
Well, I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, you can love somebody and kill them. I mean, because if you really love them, you know that they're suffering. You got to take them out of their misery so they won't hurt nobody else. You love everybody, so you can still love and kill. So as long as you can get that reconciled in your mind, it's okay to love folks.
Yeah.
Just know that you may have to kill them too out of love. That's my analysis.
I'm done with you. I'm done with you.
With that, we're going to close it out, brother. Thank you. Love and gratitude, man.
Love and gratitude, bro. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
And I'm getting ready to prepare to go to Ghana, by the way.
When you going?
So I'll have my passport on Thursday. So I'll buy my ticket in within a couple of weeks. So,
Wow.
but we can
Well,
talk about that offline. I know you
we'll
shut down.
talk. We'll definitely need to talk. All right, brother.
All right,
I'm shutting it down. Peace.
peace.